Hi, today I want to talk about bullying shortly because I got a letter about it. And it was a message on YouTube, but it was formed like a letter. I'm not going to read it because it was very depressing to me. And honestly, some of the things that were said just kind of made me sick. It was bringing up bullying. It was bringing up the school shootings that have happened recently. It's brought up it asked what my opinions were. It brought up how in the tech field that there is more bullying because nerds on average enter the tech field, and those are the people who get picked on. And I want to talk about it a little bit because when I was a kid, I also got bullied pretty badly. I was eccentric. I was weird. I was smart. You know, at 5, 6 years old, I was writing GW basic programs. Again, it's a silly language, but when you're 5 years old, it's it's something. And I wasn't in good shape either. I had health issues. I still have health issues to this day, but at the very least, I'm kind of learning to adapt to them a little better. And I had twitches. I was also broke. My parents never really made a lot of money, and we lived in a neighborhood with a lot of these spoiled little crap children that they got everything they wanted, all the PlayStation games they wanted, all the shoes and the clothes they wanted. While I was playing the same Tetris on my beat-up Game Boy, wearing Everlast and cheap Kmart shit to school every day. And I was also weird. I gotta give him that. So yeah, I did get bullied quite a bit, and there's a lot of bad advice that I was given. There's a lot of bad advice I still see being given because a lot of adults don't remember what it was like to be a kid. And since they don't remember the situations, they don't know how to give the advice. And one of the things that I remember very well was what it was like to be 2, 4, 10, 13. I have vivid memories with audio and video stored up here from when I was 2 years old that I can recall to this day. So it's easier for me to give advice than for some other people on how to deal with certain situations when you're a kid because I remember them very well. And there's a couple of bad pieces of advice. And I want to try to relay some of my experiences to you in the hopes that this will help you. So if you're one of those people who's out there about to go out and shoot up a school or stab a bunch of people, I really hope that you watch this video, and I really hope that it helps you a little bit. The first things first, bad advice. Just hit the bully back and he'll respect you. Even if you get your ass kicked, just hit the kid back, and and it'll never happen again, and everything will be hunky dory. This is really easy to say when you're an adult. This is really easy for me to say, and I've said it before, admittedly, and I'm wrong. This is really easy for me to say when I'm 26. I've been going to the gym every day for the past 9 years. I'm in good shape. I can bench press over 100 pounds over my weight several times. I go running. I go sprinting once a week. I go running every other day, and it's easy for me to say that because right now, if somebody were to hit me, I'm not athletic, I'm not fast, but they're going to hit me, and I'm going to do this. And then when I go to push them, they are going to fall, and it's going to hurt really hard because I'm in good shape. But yeah, when I was 13, 12 years old, and close to the height I am now, but 79 pounds, and the bully is 120 pounds, and he's athletic, and he's quick, and he's strong. No. Let me explain the reality of that advice. So he's 80% sure, based on his prior experience, that he can kick your ass. And the particular kid I'm going to talk about had been screwing with me for over 8 years, mentally, emotionally, and physically. In this case, by 8th grade, physically all the time, because he knew he could get away with it. So what he would do in the schoolyard of IS-24 was hit me up against this ripped part of a fence. And best case scenario, after he grabbed me and he hit me into this, I would feel pain. Worst case scenario, since it was ripped, it would actually scratch my back, and I would get all these cuts, and I'd go home with these cuts on my back that I couldn't do anything about because I got cut by the fence. So one day I decided I am going to hit him back. I am going to hit him back. I'm going to listen to all this advice I got. Let me tell you what happens. He's 80% confident that he can kick your ass. When you hit him back, when you make an angry face and you go, hit him back as hard as you can, and he doesn't move, or he does this, and then he does this, and you fall down. Now he has 100% confidence that he can kick your ass. So before he was 80% confident that if there was a conflict, just because he did not have the experience of you hitting him, he was 80% confident that he could kick your ass. Now he's 100% confident that he can kick your ass. And if none of the school aides see it, or they see it and they just think it's kids playing, or they can't see because there's 6,000 fucking kids in a school that's designed for 300 people, then he knows he can kick your ass and get away with it with 100% certainty. And what do you think is going to happen when he knows he can kick your ass with that 100% certainty and get away with it? He's going to try to take it to the next level because that's what bullying is about. What can I get away with? How can I entertain myself by getting away with things that I should not be allowed to get away with? And he told me, now he's going to try to kill me. And he had this big smirk on his face. And he was serious because let me explain how this worked. So when I got off the school bus, there was a road here with cars, narrow sidewalk, and then there was a hill that was leading up to the house in this one block. So what he used to do is he used to try to time it so that when I wasn't looking, and when there was a car coming by, he would climb up the hill, he'd run down the hill as fast as he could and hit me so that I would get hit into a car. And best case scenario, I don't hit a car. Usually I would hit the side of a car. Worst case scenario, a car would have to stop because I would get hit right in front of it, and if they didn't stop short, they would have ran over me and he would have actually killed me. And this went on for a good 5 or 6 months. That's where hitting the bully got me. That's where fighting back so that he would respect me got me. They just tried to do it harder because he knew he could get away with it. So I decided to tell the assistant principal at the time, his name was Mr. Gilberto. The reason that I don't feel bad giving names or shaming people is because he was an authority figure for the school, and I told him what was happening, and he didn't care. It's not even, I don't expect the guy to drive home with me. I don't expect the guy to watch all the time, but I'm telling you, very politely, that there's a person who goes to this school, has been screwing with me for the 3 years I've been going here, the 5 years I went to the last school, and now he said he's going to try to kill me, and here's what he's actually doing. He did not make eye contact. I mean, he was talking, he didn't use more than 10 words to tell me how he could not help me, and he didn't make eye contact. He was very strict. A man, gray hair, talk like this, mustache, didn't care. So, yeah, there was absolutely no help, and there's not really much you can do. Hitting the bully, that doesn't work. Telling on the bully, that doesn't work. And I get it. Like, when you're at that point, again, I was never there. I never got to that point. And if I did, I don't think I'm crazy enough to act on it. I was never at the point of thinking I'm going to go into the school with a knife or a gun and shoot up all these people. But if somebody did go into that school that same day that I saw Mr. Gilberto just ignore me, as I said to somebody in the school who's actually trying to kill me, and he's trying to take out and do this, and he didn't care. He didn't even turn his head to make eye contact. If somebody came into school and tried to shoot him in the head, I wouldn't feel sympathy. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't go to his funeral. And now at 26, I still wouldn't feel bad because I told you that somebody is actually trying to kill me, and you didn't care when it was going to happen to me. So why should I care when it happens to you? But continuing with the story. So I got tired of this around the time that I was in 11th or 12th grade. And I didn't get picked on that much in high school. And all these kids, they didn't go to the same high school I did. So the high school experience was much better for me. But I was walking, and so I decided I'm going to start exercising. I don't care that I have health issues. I don't care that I was the weakest kid, the slowest kid in my class all these years, that that I had twitches, that I wasn't in good shape at all, that my arms were like noodles. I decided I'm going to try to do something about it. So I'm in 11th grade, 11th to 12th grade. I'm 16, 17 years old. I'm about 90 pounds. And I'm the same height that I am right now. I was 90 pounds. And I decided I'm going to change my diet. I talked to my dad about changing my diet. He was a chef, so he made food for me, which I was very appreciative for until I stopped living with him, and now I have to cook for myself, and it sucks. But anyway, I changed my diet, and I started an exercise routine using my school's gym. And for the days that my school was closed, I joined the YMCA, and I went to that gym. And I didn't cheat. I didn't do bullshit exercises where it's like, this is my curls, like, this is my shoulder workout where I'm leaning back, or this is my bench press so that I could do more weight. I did real exercise. I did it 7 days a week. I set it up so that, I wasn't ever giving a certain muscle group less than 5 days to rest from what I did. And I went every single day. It didn't matter how tired I was. It didn't matter if I went to school 6, 7 hours. It didn't matter I had 8 hours of work and then studying to do. I made the time to do my 30-minute run, or my 5 minutes of sprinting, or my 45 minutes of weightlifting at the gym 7 days a week for 2 years. And I wasn't 90 pounds anymore. I was like 140, 150 pounds, same height. And this was not fat. This was just muscle. So then I was in economics class as a senior, and economics sucks. It's again, in college I'm sure it's a real course, but in high school, economics is one of those courses that they just put there so that they have something for you to do during senior year, and so they can say, look, we taught you about money and stocks and blah blah blah. It was such a bullshit course. It's such a bullshit curriculum, and I was doing what high school kids did. I asked to go to the bathroom, and I made sure to make it a 20-minute trip, so I just didn't have to sit there and listen to crap anymore. So I go to walk around, and I'm taking the long route back to economics class right down the hallway for the gym. And I see this the kid from 8th grade who he didn't go to my high school, and I saw him. I don't know if he just transferred in. I don't know if he was just cutting in to see some friends, because it was really easy to cut into Susan Wagner High School. It was so easy to cut in and out of the school. It was a joke. But I don't know what he was doing there. To this day, I won't. I don't know what he was doing there. To this day, I'm not going to know. But he looked at me. He had this big smile of recognition on his face, like he had just seen me yesterday, and like nothing had changed. And he looked at me to make a comment, and he said, you know, nice shoes. Is that how your mother affords her Xanax? And then he got into a smile. And a lot of things went through my mind at the time. You know, a lot of these people say when they do something that's really, really bad, you know, when you watch Law and Order or these TV shows, it was just a blur. I blacked out. I wasn't even myself. I don't remember anything. I can't believe that was me. No. I remember every single moment and every single thing that I did. I believe that you have to take responsibility for what you do in life, whether it was good or bad. You don't get to hide behind the bullshit. No, 9 years later, I remember every single moment of this day and this conversation. He looks at me and he goes, you know, he just looked at me with that bullshit, arrogant, cocky piece, whatever, and said, nice shoes. Is that how your mother can afford all her Xanax? And I don't know, to this day, I don't know how he found out that my mother had been mentally ill since I was a child. I don't know how he knew that she took Xanax. And I don't know who told him. I don't know, maybe he talked to one of my friends, the few friends that I had when I was in junior high school. There were only 2 kids that knew that my mother was mentally ill. And I didn't think that either of them knew him. And she took more than that. And I was thinking about a lot of things at the time. I was thinking about how my dad missed a lot of work opportunities because he decided to stay home and take care of my sick mother, which is why he didn't make a lot. I thought about some of my dad's health problems, which is why he wasn't able to go to work and make the money required so that I could wear $150 disposable shoes that you buy new ones of every month, like every other kid in Staten Island. I don't know if I thought about my sick mother, who had been. Maybe I was also thinking about my sick mother, who had been mentally ill from my young age till the day that she died of it. And all of this came up at the same, like, 1 or 2 seconds of time. Before I could actually think about what to do, do I walk away and ignore it? Do I hit him? Do I tell him that that's not the right thing to say? You should apologize. Before I could do any of that, he did the same thing that he did in 8th grade and 7th grade, and he grabbed my shirt as hard as he could to go to push me up against a wall. And there was this little section where the wall had the brick and had this stone in between it, and it was sharper than all the other sections because the school was just fucked up. Like, all the tiles were yellow and orange. It was just messed. And he went to hit me. And something changed. This was the first time, like really the first time in my life that I figured out that I had a thigh muscle. Like, you know when you do this, I mean, if you work out and you work out your legs, like this muscle like just goes and sticks out. That was the first time I realized that was actually there and actually felt it. Because he had went to do this, and usually by now I'd be boom up against the wall, and this time was like I didn't move. And I looked at him. He's like, oh. And he hit a little harder, and nothing happened. And I was still a very, very slow person. I'm still not coordinated. I'm not athletic. But I go to grab his hand, and he stops it, and then I just push right through while he's blocking me and get to him. And now he's got this look in his eye, like, oh crap. And I'm thinking to myself, you have gained maybe 15 pounds since 8th grade. Oh boy. I had this. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I wasn't going to just push you out of the way or temporarily disable you so I can walk back to class. No. The hallway, the door, the stairwell to the basement was right in front of the gym. So I carried him a good 8 or 9 yards over, and I dragged this man by the arm and the shoulder. I had him by the armpit like this. I just dragged him, and as soon as I got to the end of that stairwell, I pushed the door open, and I tossed him right down the stairs. And his ankle was clearly broken. It was twisted way, way out of where it's supposed to be, and there was blood. I don't know if it was around the mouth, the nose, ear. I don't know. It was like somewhere around here at the bottom of the stairs. And he was moving like a little bit, but clearly very fucked up. And I felt like for 2 to 3 second 9-yard trip where he is trying as best as he can to get away from me, and nothing is working, and I am just dragging this person that used to be this brick that I hit as hard as I could, and he didn't move like that. And it felt like it wasn't even the same person anymore. It felt like I was dragging a birthday balloon down the hallway at this point. That was one of the top moments of my life. From age 0 to 17, that had to have been one of the most rewarding 3 seconds. And let me explain what happens in these moments. You may think that's a great feeling, that's a great ending to the story. I wish I could feel that way against the guy who's fucking with me. No, it's not, because it's like a pendulum. Let me explain how that works. So you go all the way, you get that high on the revenge, you get that high on getting back at that person, it's not being vulnerable anymore. It swings all the way back over here to feelings of misery and self-hatred and being disgusted at yourself and feeling manipulated and feeling like somebody else was allowed to change how you feel, and you feel cheap and you feel shitty and you feel like you just want to dig a hole and die. And there's a reason for that. It's because you let somebody else change your emotional state. So that revenge came out of the anger. The anger came out of him, which means he changed how I felt. He affected my actions, which means that even though he's lying there with a broken ankle and his face is bleeding and fucked up and he didn't screw me up and he didn't hit me up against the wall this time, even though I won, I felt like complete shit. I felt worse than I had felt in my entire life because I let somebody else affect my emotional state. And whether you're dealing with a customer who gets you irate to the point where you lose control, whether you're dealing with a girlfriend who gets to the point where you're screaming and acting in a way that you wouldn't, or you're acting jealous or spiteful or passive aggressive in a way that you wouldn't, when you let somebody else change who you are, you have lost. And whether you're a kid or an adult, at any point in your life, when somebody else is allowed to affect your emotional state, you are fucked and you are screwed. Because again, even when people say like, you must be mad in these videos, or you're angry and pissed off, when I'm doing these videos, I may get loud or I may get expressive, but I'm never mad. You're never wiping the smile off of my face. As an adult, I could lose $30,000 in a day, and I have, and I still have the smile on my face. The only way I would be able to get to this point in my life, the only way I'd be able to learn the things that I've learned and go through the bad crap that I've gone through without failing, without hitting a wall and saying, I'm done, I'm never trying this again, I give up, is by keeping the smile on my face, is by not allowing other people to affect how I feel. So it's proportional. The more happy you feel at that revenge you got, the worse you're going to feel just 3 seconds later. The reason I'm saying that is because that's why I think a lot of these people who do these school shootings and do these school stabbings and all this violence, that's why they kill themselves at the end of it. This is just my theory. I can't be inside their head. I don't think it's about knowing that they're going to get caught or that it's the last moment. I think that somewhere in there they realized that they were just a regular person who was not insane, who was not a murderer, who was not even angry, and they allowed themselves to turn into this disgusting shit by these other people, and that they feel so manipulated, they feel like so weak inside, so worthless, because they allowed themselves to change how they feel, to change how they act based on somebody else, that they cannot stand to live anymore, and they just shoot themselves. And one of the things that I say in a lot of these other videos is about with salesmanship. One of the things I said is that you need to live in the world of your customer. And again, you may think that this is silly right now, but I am actually trying to sell people. If you are one of those kids who's getting bullied and you're right at that point where you're like, maybe I should do something really, really violent and fucked up back. If you're on that path that some of these kids were on, I am actually trying to sell you on something. And I'm not in my world. I'm not in the teacher's world, but the teacher's like, violence is bad and begets more violence. See, they don't care about that because they're already getting hit in the crap. They don't care about violence. These kids don't care about the principal. They don't care about the other people they're hurting. They just want to feel better. They just want to feel better, and they want to feel righteous, and they want to feel like they're not getting picked on anymore. So I'm trying to live in your world for a second. If you're one of these kids, I'm trying to live in your world and tell you, you want to feel better? You're not going to feel better. And I'm explaining to you how you're going to feel at the end of it as somebody who actually had one of these, again, on a small scale, like hitting somebody down the stairs is hardly shooting them with an Uzi. But I'm trying to explain to you in your world what is going to happen when you actually go about doing that, and what seems to be happening to the people who do this. At the end of it, they always have this, it's just this thing where they just realize what they've done, they realize how they've been manipulated, and they just end it for themselves. And that's what's going to happen to you if you do any of that. So I'm going to give you a couple of pieces of advice that I think are better. The first advice I'm going to give you is to get into shape. Do whatever you have to do, diet-wise and exercise-wise. Do whatever you can. If you can't even get a membership to a gym, go to your park, do calisthenics, do whatever it is you have to do, and keep regimen every single day to get in a better shape so that you actually can do something back. The second thing I'm going to recommend that you do, regardless of how bad it gets, regardless of how much you hate this person, is Only do what is necessary for self-defense. Only hit the person back just enough to keep them away from you. And the third thing is, at all times, as hard as it is, do not let them change how you feel. Do not let them change how you act. Do not let them change who you are. I know it doesn't seem fair right now. I know it doesn't seem fair right now, and maybe you have less money than them. Maybe you're not as strong as them, and you feel like everybody in this world is against you. But you need to realize that in a school of 1,000 people, there are millions of people out there in the world that come from millions of different little subcultures, millions of different demographics, and 1,000 people, that's just not the world. And what you need to realize is that while life does not start fair, it very often ends fair. One of the great things about Facebook, one of the great things about having no privacy in the internet age, is that I can look up some of these people who used to do these things, who used to make fun of the fact that I came to school with crappy clothes on. He used to make fun of the fact that I was out of shape and hit me and whatever. That, they're wearing size 46 jeans. They're working at the mini golf courses as the janitor, and they're living in their parents' basement while I'm living in a beautiful palatial apartment. And if I want to spend $3,000 on a vacation, it ain't nothing but a thing. Life doesn't start fair, but if you put work in, if you put effort in the right places, you really notice that it does end fair. And this is high school. The people that say high school are the best years of your life, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for the fact that living with your parents was the best years of your life. I feel bad for you that having to spend 8 hours of your day in a place where you have to go, "Excuse me, may I go to the bathroom?" When you have that level of freedom, that those were the best days of your life. They're not supposed to be. The people who say that have sad, sad lives. And what I want you to realize is that you have control over your emotions. You have control over how you feel, and you can actually affect the outcome. It is silly. It is silly now that as an adult that I still go to the gym every day. It is silly. Again, I'm not going to try to be an egomaniac here, but I am in good shape. Again, like if somebody tries to hit me, they're getting hurt. But it is silly because at 26 years old, the bullies that I have to deal with are not ones that I can hit back. The bullies that I have to, dealing with the IRS, when the IRS likes to do this thing, by the way, where they, if anything is, they think that anything is even slightly off, instead of just informing you of that, they just send you a fine, the maximum possible fine, assuming you did the maximum worst thing. So I'll just get a fine in the mail for $180,000, something that, their paperwork that they lost. That's a bully. When the New York State comes in and they're like, you don't have business license numbers on your business cards, that's $500, that's a bully. When I have to deal with a customer who says, we make up 85% of your current business, here are our terms, that's a bully. And these are all bullies that I have to deal with in different ways. You're never going to stop dealing with bullies over the course of your life. So what you need to do is learn while you're young how to deal with bullies, so that when you're older, you're able to deal with these bigger bullies. Because again, you can't just go to the gym and learn how to and get in better shape so that you can hit them back. It's going to be harder and harder and harder to keep your cool. When you lose $30,000 in a day because of one jackass, you are going to have, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how hard that bully hit you when you were a kid. You're going to feel angrier as an adult when that happens, and you need to learn how to not allow bullies, or anybody for that fact, a customer, a girlfriend, your kids, your wife, your employees, your boss, to affect your emotional state. The only person who should be allowed to affect your emotional state is you. You need to learn that when you're young, so that when you're older, you'll be able to deal with all these other bullies properly. Because again, a lot of people will say, oh, just be nice, you put energy into the world, and it'll come back. No. When somebody sends me a fine for $180,000, they're trying to destroy me. When somebody tries to destroy me, the only thing that I can do back is fight as hard as I possibly can to ensure that that doesn't happen. And that doesn't mean bringing a knife to school or bringing an Uzi up into the IRS and going, no, that means allowing myself to remain calm, figuring out the best thing to do in the situation, to not sit down or bend over and let them sodomize me, and then to react properly. It's just the way it is. You don't, it's the same thing with jobs. Like, people will tell me, I get paid $9 an hour. What do I do? And I will tell them, well, tell your boss that you are here's why you're worth this. Here's why you want more responsibility and feel like you're worthy of making more money. And tell them if they don't listen to your demands, that you're going to quit. And then they follow it, and they say that they got yelled at. So then I'll say, okay, well, Then if they yell at you, you need to scream at them back. And they'll go, oh, I can't scream back at them. I can't yell at my boss. Oh, what do you know? I'm like, okay, well, you're just going to get shit on for your entire life. You're going to get $9 an hour even though you're administrating server rooms or you're doing motherboard component level repair, because that's just the way the world works. As long as you let other people crap on you without making any effort to change it, the world will shit on you and you're stuck. So hopefully this video has helped. Hopefully you've learned something, and hopefully for those of you that actually are on the edge, if you are actually watching this video, if you are actually at the point where you're about to bring a gun into a school, I'm not going to try to sell you a bunch of bullshit. I'm not going to try to sell you on why violence is wrong, because again, you don't care that violence is wrong at this point, because nobody cares about the violence that's being done to you. I'm not trying to sell you on not doing this shit because violence is wrong, even though it is and all that other stuff. I'm trying to sell you on how bad you are going to feel, how silly, how sad, how disgusting and empty, like as a person with no identity, how you're going to feel when you let somebody else bring you to this, when you let somebody else affect your emotional state. You're going to be like, you think you're going to be like, I got you all now, but no. You're the one standing there doing this fucked up crap that you would have never done before. You're the one who is going to inflict all this pain onto all these people. You're the one who is feeling this. You're the one who's having his strings pulled, and that is truly, that again, no matter how good you feel, it is proportional. No matter how good it feels to get that revenge, it will be equally and proportionally in the opposite direction, just how bad, just how shitty, just how crappy you feel. And if you don't believe me, just do the research on all the other people who do all this fucked up shit, and what do they do at the end of it? They kill themselves because they know, because they feel that bad about everything that they did. And it's not because they knew they were going to get caught. It's not because they knew at the last minute that I'm just going to go to jail or whatever, blah, blah, blah. No, it's because they feel like an empty, worthless sack of crap. And that is what you become when you let other people affect your emotional state. Bullying is still a real problem to kids. And there are still a lot of people out there that give a lot of bad advice. There are still a lot of bad principals out there like Mr. Gilberto that give no advice. There are still a lot of adults that don't care about helping. They just don't care. They like to give these blanket excuses on how it's all going to be okay, or you're going to be older one day, and oh, they're just going to pick on you anyway, so there's nothing you can do, or oh, you shouldn't hit back because that's wrong, or oh, if you just hit them back once, they're not going to do anything. And again, they live in this silly fairy tale world with lollipops and bullshit, and that is just not how the world works. And this is all really bad advice that's going to wind up hurting a lot of kids. So try to actually do something about it. If you see that somebody is actually getting bullied, try to talk to them about the solutions that are actually going to work. Try to, don't avoid it. Don't just think that as they get older it's going to get better, because there are people like me where I learned on my own how to deal with it, and I became successful as an adult, and I didn't carry it with me and become a drug user or an addict or one of those people who goes into a school and shoots it up, or grows in, joins a gang and becomes violent so that they can defend themselves. But there are a lot of people out there where they're not going to be so lucky, and they really do need your help and your guidance, and they need to be treated like real human beings. So please go ahead and do that.